First of all, I want to thank you all again for being here on a Sunday in beautiful Bangkok. Um, cool. So, Jakub, Annie, we've known each other. Is it Jakob or Jakub?
As it is easier for you.
Okay. Investing in DeSci is a very new. Sorry, I have my notes here. Investing in DeSci is a really new kind of. There's a bit of a back noise, eh? Yeah. Okay. Um, Investing in DeSci is a really new, I think, field. I remember first moderating a panel actually on DeSci at a conference in Lisbon, at LisCon 2021. That was the first time we ever had kind of DeSci on a panel, and now it's almost 3 years later. Both of your funds have actually actively began investing into DeSci. Binance Labs just as of 2 days ago. But maybe before we actually kind of really dive deeper into the topic, I'm kind of curious if each of you remember your kind of genesis moment when you first heard about DeSci, and kind of like, yeah, I'm curious what you thought about it and kind of what emotions it kind of maybe brought up in you, or like personal experiences or relations. Do you want to start, Jakub?
Maybe I can start. About DeSci, probably in 2020 or 2021, I think Molecule was coming together in Berlin for quite some time, right? And when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Or like, this is like science, like we were feeling like science is kind of struggling and there was not really much of invention. Also, like everybody in crypto, or like most of the people in crypto, or like maybe the older cohorts, they came also with crypto because they become at some point fed up with the state, with the bureaucracy, centralization, etc. So when we were kind of like overlapping the concepts like DAOs and the liquidity of the tokens, and bootstrapping liquidity and ease of fundraising, this become like very easily and quickly exciting for us. And like if like for years we were always thinking, me, that if crypto wants to legitimize itself, we need to have something like useful for also people outside of crypto. And like I think like most of the presentations were presenting very specific cases how to help to tens of millions or more people.
Maybe as a super small follow-on, how do you feel DeSci actually resonates with the thesis of your fund at Zee Prime?
Yeah, so we love tinkering. We love people who are exploring the other ideas or verticals which are not mainstream, which are not consensus yet. That's why we were investing in DeSci from 2021, and even like when we were funding HerdDAO in 2023, like the guys were kind of like struggling to raise, but we were that's what we like. We like to be kind of like contrarian, and then either being proven right or even being proven wrong.
Really, really nicely said. If any of you want to read really funny, one of the first really funny and great articles on DeSci, Zee Prime, I think, published a thesis in mid-2022, which is called "The Future of Medicine as Tokens," with some of the best memes, I think, still some of the best memes in the DeSci space. Andy, you and I first met actually at DeSci Dubai, which was our first DeSci event, which was just April. It feels like forever ago. The crypto space moves super quickly, and yeah, I was super impressed from the first moment that I met you. It was an honor to actually have a representative of Binance Labs come to that event, and since then, yeah, we built a deeper and deeper relationship. So yeah, super curious, Annie. What was your feeling back when you were at that summit, and what was your personal, kind of what's your personal relationship with science and DeSci?
Hello. Yeah. So I first my journey came a bit later. So I first got interested in science first during COVID. Katie Wood was shilling ArcG a lot, and she was saying that the ArcG genomic stocks will be the next FANG stocks that will replace all these technology companies. So my interest started growing from there, and when biotech stocks are sort of at this all-time low, I started looking deeper and deeper into it. And I think like to be interested in these science, you have to be first interested in science. And then it's kind of started growing from there. And like these science, there's not a lot of projects out there. Probably like you can count with your fingers. And yeah, I think like Bio XYZ and Molecule DAO is definitely the first mover with like all the resources and the network to build something here. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. How have you actually? How is it? Do you think the space has changed a lot since you first have started looking into it? Or
I think the space, like these science has been kind of people just sort of building quietly, and it didn't get a lot of attention for a very long time until recently the announcement. And then now, like hoping we are hoping that this is the beginning of it, and then in the future we'll bring in like more scientists, research, and make these science bigger.
it's actually, I think for investors, that's the best position to be in, when like people are just quietly building and like no one's paying attention. That's the best position you want to be in, and to place contrarian bets. Yeah, fantastic, cool. So did you want to add something, Jakub?
Not really, but like yeah, it changed a lot. Like obviously in 2021, like we were not sure if it will work, if it's not just like a bunch of crypto enthusiasts who are also into science or who are trying to shoehorn crypto on science, but it works, and it also was getting some validation pretty early. For example, when Pfizer Ventures invested, I think, in Molecule or VitaDAO.
In VitaDAO itself,
in VitaDAO, because they were not able to process their pipeline of startups, so they realized that for them it would be much more efficient to offload it on the VitaDAO and the DAO, and so this was kind of like the first validation for me in the meantime, or like from start of our investment in DeSci, and then everything else was just like proving the thesis more and more.
For us back then at VitaDAO, that was actually like a complete mind blow moment. Like Pfizer, the pharma company, was like in our DMs and emails, like trying to get in touch, and we were actually initially like, what do they want? And like, this is like trad pharma. Like, we didn't really like engage them that much, but they just kept pushing and then they invested into VitaDAO, and they bought tokens in an organization that at the time did not have a legal entity, which was for a traditional pharma company to do that. I think that it really says a lot, and I also think it says a lot about the power of these DAOs and communities to actually attract the world best scientists.
It's actually absolutely crazy, because like most of the corporations, they don't even know how to buy tokens, how to account them, how to hold them on balance sheet. It's like, so it was awesome to see.
Maybe going a bit more high level, as crypto investors, maybe for some of the other folks in the audience, maybe some of the builders, what are some of the metrics in investing into crypto? Let's leave DeSci aside for a second, that you've seen become the most important over time, like the real signals, and how do you think this can be applied to DeSci?
Metrics, I think like it's kind of like premature to talk about metrics. I think like DeSci, much more than maybe other verticals, is more as a founders bet, and maybe kind of like vertical bet. There is not much of metrics, especially in the early stages of such investment, which you can follow. Like for example, like trial can go wrong. The hypothesis could be disproven or like proven wrong from the research, and you have to start basically from the scratch. So I don't think there's much of metrics. Obviously that's changing when you have something which is already out there, like VitaDAO or HairDAO, and you clearly see their progress over months or over years.
Andy, you've done a lot of biotech investing, or some. I also used to trade biotech stocks while I was studying at university, and it taught me so much about the market, especially not about the stock market, but really about like biotech investing and investing into science. What are some of the things that you've looked at when you invest into biotech, and how do you think that could be applied to DeSci? Like, should investors draw parallels there in terms of like?
Yeah, about biotech. Biotech stocks is pretty scary and risky. So I just bought the ETFs, and I'm actually writing this in the article. So I think biotech stocks that are mainly three categories. The first group is like the tooling and platform. The second group is the drug discovery companies. So this is where all the hot stuff is happening. And then the third group is all the pharmas, the big pharmas. And I was looking at so these three categories. The first one is ArcG. Second one is, which one is XBI? And then the third one is XLV. And from its peak in 2021, the first two groups is down bad. And only the third group is up only. Only the big pharmas are making money. And I was wondering why, since it's like a value, it's like a supply chain, and all this value should be connected and everything should go up. And then I realized it's because the third group is doing a lot of M&As. So most of this value is actually absorbed in group 1 and group 2 into big pharmas. And because big pharmas have all this distribution and all this regulatory advantage that group 1 and group 2 doesn't have. And I was thinking maybe DeSci, we could break something there in group 3 and then accrue some of the value back. Yeah.
I think that's such an interesting thought. So I've had this thesis for a while that for me, the full DeSci vision actually begins playing out when you when you're able to integrate supply chain or direct commercialization, direct to consumer. I think we had an amazing talk from Ionia just before this, where I think Herda is the first real example of where you can have end to end, like you do research and then you also commercialize it yourself. Because if you're then able to reap the upside from the IP and value creation, and you're able to distribute that upside to your stakeholders, to patients, to consumers, then yeah, I think you can capture value in a similar way. Okay, cool. So this always comes up recently because, like, I think the past 2 months have been very defined by an attention economy that we live in. So I think we increasingly live in an attention economy. The market has changed from that a little bit. How do you think? So I think DeSci is actually quite applicable to retail, in the sense of that it focuses on real world problems and like real world solutions. How do you think can DeSci learn anything from like the meme coin mania that we've seen, where attention spans become shorter and shorter? Because I also think there's one problem that I've realized in that is if you want to fund science, you need to have long attention spans, yet attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like part of our thesis is actually we are betting that DeSci founders who are also they have some sort of crypto in their blood, and a huge part of crypto is memes, and memes are perfect information tool that is like reducing very complex things or topics into one funny picture or quote or joke or whatever. So for example, yeah, like honestly, like part of our DAO investment thesis was that this is like very strong memetic potential. There might be like a lot of funny memes which will bring their products and their inventions to mass adoption and even to commercial success, and then they can grow and it can be more sustainable. And I can imagine like very powerful and funny memes about many other DeSci about many other DeSci projects. Either it's VitaDAO or like even like the presentation before about the quantum biology and the clothes which can help you regenerate muscles or bounce faster. That's kind of like X-Men shit. So I can imagine there will be like a lot of this will actually accelerate the success of DeSci and their commercial success as well.
If I can add on to that, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I work a little bit with a guy called Michael Hart, and he was an ex-hedge fund manager for Peter Thiel. He's now a member at in Beaker DAO, which is an investment DAO in the DeSci space. And he said, actually, we shouldn't probably value these bio-DAOs or DeSci DAOs based on their underlying assets or AUM, because it really cuts them short. If we're funding moonshot science that will take 5 or 10 years and lead to absolute breakthroughs, we probably shouldn't look so much on the underlying portfolio values initially, but actually decouple it and just say it's a meme, we're gonna cure X and buy the meme. And then there's so much that happens behind that. Yeah, I'm curious how you think about that, Annie.
Yeah, this pre-revenue thing is it's like the pump dot fund equivalent of the DAO, right? When they start showing the NAV and then it starts capping, there's a ceiling to it, to the valuation. But at the same time, I also think that you probably need some kind of fundamentals. So I think with regards to the attention thing, the meme coin traders are completely opposite from DeSci people. I think DeSci, the community and the vibes is very different from crypto people in general. And I was thinking, how do we, because the success of bio and the success of DeSci would only work if it gets super noisy and super hyped up. So I was thinking all these IP NFTs and all these things, scientists share more regular updates, and another part of it is probably the education part of it, because most people just don't understand science. It's just another language, even more complex than crypto. So I think we probably need education, KOLs and all this. I think that is a big opportunity gap to fill, to bridge them into DeSci. But yeah,
Yeah, actually, I wanted to add before that I was thinking about science and science in society, and if you think about it, actually after COVID, the normal people, because of how COVID was polarizing topic, but also for many people climate change and other stuff is very polarizing, and then the politicians they are kind of offloading their responsibility or decisions on saying, oh, but scientists are saying this, or so that's because of scientists. So, and it's actually very polarizing, and they are kind of offloading the responsibility and the decisions on they're basically politicizing the science itself, and also science was always, and academia was always kind of perceived by normal people something kind of elitist, and the DeSci can actually connect these two worlds, which unfortunately are pretty disconnected, and I fear that the normal society and normal population they started to kind of hate the scientists even more because of these polarizing topics, or you have this huge anti-vax movement in whole world. So actually, the DeSci can actually bring back the respect and connection, or maybe not even bring back. I don't think there was a big connection between scientists and normal society and population ever. So bringing it down to them so they can digest it through some funny meme, but also via ownership of some token, which also can help them financially and economically, and then they can go through the rabbit hole of the topic in a similar way as crypto. How many people, many people in crypto, basically they were obviously attracted for the first time by, I don't know, getting rich or something, but many of them actually, when they did the step oh, I bought first crypto, they started to kind of explore the background of it, and and many people started to suddenly read and educate themselves about the economic, about the governance, about the other hard topics which you are not really discussing on the lunch with your family or friends.
I think. Do we still have time? 2 minutes? Okay, then I want to ask questions to the audience. So take a moment to think about if you have any questions. But I would just want to add to that, and I think DeSci is also, I think, a truth-seeking exercise in the sense that it enables public participation in science And especially in the biotech and pharma world, we just talked about like the anti-vax movement or around COVID-19. There is so much mistrust in the public around pharma, around medicine, around science, because either people have been made to believe that they're just supposed to believe what is being put out. We increasingly know that some things are being put out more out of commercial interest than out of truth seeking. And so I actually think there is a huge potential here to educate new waves of like hobby scientists that do actually, in the case of Herda, I think Herda is an excellent example of this, that do actually get extremely involved, teach themselves what the hell is going on here. And we also live in a gig economy, right? Like, there's nothing that stops someone from becoming maybe a quantum biologist within a year or two by just absolutely geeking out into the thing and then actually starting to contribute value, and probably with a very different mindset than someone traditionally out of academia would. Jeff or Clarice, do you think someone could become a hobby quantum biologist within like a year or two? If they were literally...
Yeah, absolutely. We found that the science is much easier to explain if you actually put effort into it, and then engagement with citizen scientists has just been like phenomenally good. So
yeah. No, that's fantastic. And I actually think DeSci can provide I also think if you have people coming from outside, they come with a really different perspective than people that come with an academic background or with an industry background. I think you probably have 16, 17-year-olds that just like start fully geeking into this. And
you want people of all different backgrounds talking to each other. So people will come in and they'll ask, okay, what is spin? And you're like, okay, actually, wait, I don't actually know the answer to that question. So it's, you want people of all different types.
Cool. I want to give a last offer, maybe 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Maybe we have some founders here that want to ask questions to some of 2 of the best investors, I think, in the DeSci space, or anything else that like tickles your fancy. Yes, NFI.
I just quickly wanted to ask that, with Binance investing in Molecule, of course, and Bio, I was actually talking to a few people, and of course, it's a big deal. But do you guys feel like how do you see it? Like, do you feel there would be a lot of people actually investing after Binance, or like, what's your take on that?
Sorry, the question is, do I see what?
Yeah, I mean, like, do you see more capital flowing into DeSci, or like, what's your thought about like DeSci overall? Because
Right. Yeah.
because, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. Just trying to create this DeSci narrative. I think crypto is a place where there's just too much capital and just billions and billions of dollars and just lack of ideas. And science is a place where it needs funding, especially like the unknown scientists underground in the basement, those kind of people with no data and So I feel like, trying to connect those 2 things together.
Great. We have one last question.
Yeah, just wondering, just the question for the both of you, what sort of return multiples are you looking at for any exciting portfolio projects in your DeSci portfolio? Like, which part of the stack excites you the most, where you see asymmetrical returns?
Like, honestly, like, we didn't even think about the multiples and exits, because there's like so many way where every DeSci project can fail, because unlike other crypto projects, or like unlike just, for example, like traditional blockchain infrastructure, things which are like very abstract, you are dealing with physical world, with regulations, etc. So like too many things can go wrong, and obviously, like if you are building some DeFi protocol, you can like combine this smart contract and that, and got a new product. When you are when you are dealing with science, until you will figure it out what to do, and if you are not stuck somewhere, or if the thesis is not wrong, it obviously will last months, not months, like years. So I don't know, maybe I will disappoint you, but like we are not thinking about the multiples and exits yet, because we were never investing in this vertical, but also in other verticals, in the notion or with the motive to flip it in months or in 1-2 years. So Zee Prime has, like, our investment vehicles are 7 to 10 years. So maybe we will look at it after 4 or 5 years, and then we will consider it.
Yeah, but to that question, I would say I will go for the 1 billion magic number, like to make the first unicorn DeSci company. And then if it gets really, really successful, where there's like hundreds and thousands of like IP, IPTs trading, and like a big marketplace, I think this could go 5-10 billion or more. But yeah, maybe let's aim for the 1 billion mark first as a first milestone.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andy, Jakub, Paul.